Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to today's episode of 49 Faithfully. We're your hosts, Miriah Lee and Teran Lewis. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, Steph Sanchez. Thank you for joining us. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Enjoying my Saturday. Hopefully the Warriors can win tomorrow, and yeah, it's shaping up to be a good week.
I'm still heartbroken about
Yeah.
about what
Yeah.
we saw from them.
Well, I hate to tell you guys, but I actually bet against the Warriors, but
Ooh.
not for the series. I think they're still going to win in six, but I put the Celtics were going to win. I saw the spread, and it looked too good to be true. It was like the
Yeah.
Warriors 3.5. I go, everybody's going to pick the Warriors, and Vegas doesn't lose, so I'm going with the Celtics.
Nice.
I hate that the Warriors had like such a humongous like break in between there. Like, I feel like the rest hurt them more than it did good for them.
Might have, yeah.
Kind of mess up the flow a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened in the fourth. Like, it was just a complete freaking meltdown. Like,
Well, and too, for their case, Boston could not miss.
Yeah.
Like no
No.
matter what they were doing, like everybody was hitting threes, even dudes off the bench. So I think that's just what happened with the Warriors. I was unfortunate that the Celtics just got hot at the wrong time, I guess you can say. So
well, and it's easy not to miss when you're wide open.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Hopefully better defense tomorrow.
So Steph, I'm sure everybody that is over here knows where to find you, but if not, why don't you let them know? Because I know that you used to have like a duo thing going, but now it's just you, right? Leading the charge. So
Yes. My old co-host Angie, she now works with NBC Authentic, so she puts out great content for them. So support her on there. But as far as 49 Carats podcast, yeah, I'm the host at the moment, and you can find me on Twitter at Stragosaurus. I'm also under the same username on YouTube, STRAGO So that's where all 49 Carat podcasts live streams happen, and also on all the streaming platforms as well if you prefer to listen as well. So
good stuff. That's good. That's awesome for her to be able to work her way up like that. She's doing big things. So yeah, make sure you guys go over there and support her as well. Tanya, what's up? 49ers throwback. Appreciate you guys. Um, so we had two retirement pieces of news breaking this week. One, we kind of knew it was going to happen, and one, we were kind of like 50-50 on the fence. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not. Frank Gore came home, signed a one-day contract so he could retire a 49er. I've talked about it before. He is like the reason like I like started falling in love with football and got into football so much was because Frank Gore. So he holds a big piece of my heart. And like, I was kind of worried for a while after we saw him leave the 49ers and jump around from team to team if he would end up, coming back to retire a 49er. But I'm glad that we got to see that happen. What are your guys' thoughts on the Frank Gore news?
yeah, I mean, obviously sad, but we saw this coming. If there's anything that I can take from it, it's like at least he retired a 49er. And of course he would, right? He spent 10 seasons out of his 16 with the 49ers. And I think it's pretty obvious as well that he, like, the 49ers are as dear to him as we love Frank Gore. Like, it's like a mutual love between, the faithful and him. And he always carries that with him, even when he went to other teams. Like, he always supported the 49ers, and
Yeah.
like, that's pretty rare. So obviously a very special moment that he was inducted to the team's Hall of Fame as well. And I think it's just a matter of time before he is also inducted to Canton.
Yeah.
For the NFL Hall of Fame as well. But yeah, I mean, just an incredible career. There's not enough good things that you can say about him, and just what he embodies as a player. Like, he played football like the right way, and he's just a great example, I think, for anybody who watches the game and also who plays the game. So yeah, he just a very special guy, and he's one of my favorite 49er players. I think the other one I would say is Joe Staley. So anytime someone asks me who's your favorite Niner, it's between those guys.
Yeah.
Usually I lean towards Staley just because, just the personality is just like a fun guy. But Frank Gore is just, head down work, and you just can't hate on that, very special guy.
Yeah, that's some great points, Steph, and thank you for your input on that. Yeah, same thing. On top of him just being a football player, he's just a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Like the man is just always like I never heard him complain. Even when the 49ers were bad, he gave it his all. And I've said this before on the show, and I'm going to say it again because if I ever see that man in person, I owe him an apology. Because I'm not going to lie, when the draft was coming up, what did he get drafted? 2005.
Yeah.
When he came in 2005, because I paid attention to him in college, and he tore his ACL on both legs, right and left leg ACL tears, and I was like, that's a bad pick. And rest in peace to Marion Barber, because that's who I wanted. I was like, Marion Barber's healthy, this and that. We drafted Gore. I was a little upset, I'm not gonna lie, but obviously he came out, he balled, and I was like, man, I've always told myself, if I ever meet him in person, I owe that man an apology because I doubted him. So the fact that he came in off of 2 torn ACLs and did what he did and stayed healthy pretty much his whole career, like man, that man deserves so much respect. It's so awesome, and he's making me feel old because now his son's in college. So yeah, it's just Gore, and I'm sure you're not watching this, but if you are one day, I'm proud of you. I'm glad all the stuff that you've been through. You were a great 49er. I'm not really a person who loves to retire jerseys, but I think his should be. Nobody else should wear that 21 jersey. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things where, there's some players who don't deserve it, but he does. So, yeah, kudos to you, man. I'm glad that you came back. And like you said, Steph, like even when he was with the Bills, whatever teams he was on, he would always say stuff about the Niners, how much he loved them. And I think because he's been through so much growing up and stuff, growing up in poverty and stuff like that, I think he saw 49ers as a franchise who took a chance on him. So I think that's why he loved us so much. So yeah, I love me some Frank Gore. He definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and he is definitely one of my top 10 49ers of all time. So
yeah, we've seen, on the video that's floating around there of him signing the one day, and he's there with Jed and starts crying, almost like, thanking him for, basically that, believing in somebody that had, 2 torn ACLs in the past, and somebody, and you're not the only one, TL. I'm sure half, it's probably 75%, 80% of the freaking fan base and NFL fans, NFL followers thought that was a bad pick. Had thought that he wasn't going to be anything. And, it's always those guys that, like we talked about this before, like Trey Lance as well, like that are doubted and have something to prove and actually come in and fight for it and prove everybody wrong, And that is one of the things like I love about him. And, I agree. He's definitely top 5 49er to me. And, like I kind of held up, like I kind of tried to accept, to go on a little Carlos Hyde rant real quick. I tried to accept him because obviously he was a 49er, but I just feel like if the team would have signed Gore like to another contract then and never had the whole, Hyde era, like we could have stopped Gore from like being like this 1-year rental to all these scrub teams. And he could have actually like, just had his career with the 49ers. Like I would have much rather see that.
yeah, I was hoping the same thing too. You look at the Bryant Youngs and Joe Staley's and stuff. I wish he was one of these players who spent his entire career with the 49ers just because how much of a stand-up guy he is. And I understand like our top 2 players ever and Joe Montana and Jerry Rice have moved on, but there's just certain players who just have that character where you're just like, man, like he deserves to be a Niner full time. That's how I feel about Jimmy Ward,
Yeah.
like one of those guys that we talked about before. Like I hope he spends the rest of his career as a Niner too. So
yeah. And then the other one we saw, the Alex Mack news break, up until this point, Kyle and, whoever they asked were pretty much, saying that they knew pretty much, the way he was going, but they were going to let him announce it. I've always, been a believer that he was going to retire. Do you, before you get, as you guys give your thoughts of, the whole Alex Mack retirement, Do you really believe that the 49ers knew up until this point what he was going to do? And if so, why do you think that we didn't see them, maybe address center as like a need? Do you think they're really that confident in the people that they have on the team to take that spot?
I do think they had to have had an inkling, or they had to have known what he was leaning towards. So I remember before the draft, or it might have been after the draft, but John Lynch did say, we've gathered all of the information we need, to make these decisions in the draft and whatnot. So I think they already had a good idea if they didn't know for sure already. And it was just a matter of, wanting to wait for him to announce it at the right time. But yeah, I mean, I think the moves they made during the draft were based on them knowing that he was going to retire. So why they didn't address it a little earlier, I'm not sure. It seems like they're pretty comfortable with, Jake Brendel, Daniel Brunskill as potential options and having them compete, as well as the undrafted free agents that they picked up. Also Nick Zakelj as well could be thrown in the mix as to compete there. So they have options. I feel like they feel comfortable with who they have. And one thing that's pretty overlooked is the fact that they've kind of had musical chairs at the center position since Kyle Shanahan has been the head coach. I think the only outlier there was Weston Richburg, who he played 2 seasons with the team. But besides that, it's been like a different guy every year. And so they're probably going with the mindset that we've done it before, we can do it again. And they're definitely more comfortable with someone who already knows the system and can kind of just go in there. So that's why I think Jake Brendel and Brunskill probably have like the advantage in the competition. And it's probably likely we see one of those two guys starting.
Dang, Steph, it's like you were in my head right now because I feel the same way. As we know, you're right. Like with the center position, and we've talked about this. Like Kyle, he likes his vets. I think that's one of the most important. You can argue center's the most important piece on that offensive line, other than left tackle, because they're the ones who calls out the plays. Whatever the case may be. So, I agree. I think Jake Brendel and Daniel Brunskill will probably battle it out. Donovan West, he got one of the highest contracts for the undrafted free agents. So I think he's going to be in the plans. I think their plan is to groom him and for him to take over either in a year or two, depending on what happens with Jake Brendel. Jake Brendel's still only like 28, 29 years old, so he's still pretty young. And yeah, I think he has kind of a rapport with Trey Lance because he was the one taking the snaps with Trey Lance.
Yep.
So that could be a huge thing that's going on too. Where they're like, look, him and Trey Lance, took second team reps all of last year. They have that chemistry. I think he has the upper hand, I guess you can say, at one in that center position. Because I'm gonna be honest, Daniel Brunskill there, it does not excite me. We've seen what he can do at center. He's not good, but at the same time, he does add that veteran depth. So yeah, I think Donovan West, or what's that guy's name? Your favorite player, Miriah, from undrafted guys, Jason Poe. Jason Poe. I think those guys will battle it out, for 2023. But yeah, I think right now it's probably a 2-man race between Jake Brendel and Daniel Brunskill, and like you said, Steph, Nick Zakelj will probably be in the mix as well. So and who knows what what he can do, because he was actually a guy who we drafted, so they obviously believe more in him than they do on Poe and Donovan West. So it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of heartbroken because I wanted Trey Lance going into the season with the best offensive line possible. Still a little heartbroken about Tomlinson, but it is what it is. But yeah, I just think that I'm going to trust this front office and think that they have who they want in place. I mean, we've drafted 5 offensive linemen in the last 2 years. So I think, and to answer your question, Miriah, I think Alex Mack had kind of a relationship just like what Joe Staley had. Like, because remember, Kyle had him in Atlanta as well. So I don't think he would do Kyle that dirty and just be like, oh, by the way, I'm retiring. I'm sure they had some kind of indication that it was coming, but they wanted to make the announcement and let him do it on his time instead of telling everybody, like, yeah, he's probably going to retire. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, 49ers throwback says, I'm scared for Brunskill at center. That's just me. That's not just you.
No, it's not. It's not
I'm
just
definitely
you.
scared for that too, and that I don't want to see that happen.
No.
Jake Brendel or Nick Sakel. And yeah, I heard about, a lot of talk about Nick Sakel maybe being able to take over at center as well. I guess that's, it'll be an interesting offseason for a lot of fights that we have going on, because there's a few spots on the offensive line that we don't know have a permanent, penciled in guy there. So it's going to be interesting how that offensive line works out. I'm kind of scared, but
yeah, I agree with Callie. I think you look at Daniel Brunskill, he's better at guard or tackle. He's just not it at center.
And that's the thing. Like, if they do move him to center, are they moving him from another position that now we have a hole there? It's like, so like Collie says, I'd rather have, him play a different position than center. I mean, I'd rather not have to need him at all, to be honest, but it is what it is. A friend of ours, he calls him Bum Skill for a reason, so we'll just say that.
Unless he's playing Aaron Donald.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the only time that he's a superstar.
He just needs to pretend like he's playing the Rams every week.
Yeah, isn't that laughable? Like, he sits there and dominates the best D lineman in football, and then when it comes to everybody else, you struggle. I do not get that concept at all. But whatever.
It needs to be researched by science.
Yeah.
Let's go on over to the safety position, and that was another area, that we went into this offseason, TL, that we were worried about, and then going into the draft, we thought for sure, they were going to draft a safety to play, alongside Jimmy Ward, since they didn't re-sign Tart, but we didn't see that happen. Now, through 2 weeks of OTAs, we're hearing that, Huff has, pretty much taken over as the guy. He's out there leading things, being a voice on the field. Jimmy Ward talked about, that he has confidence in the two of them, that they could be one of the best safety tandems in the NFL. Which, that kind of surprised me, because, all along, him and Tart have played together for so many years. And for them just to replace his guy, in the blink of an eye, and him be so supportive of this new guy like that. I'm not saying he's going to go not support the kid whatsoever, but to say that they're going to be one of the best safety tandems in the NFL, like I never heard him say that about him and Tart. So yeah, that's kind of interesting there. What are your guys' thoughts on, what we've heard? Are you guys feeling more confident in the safety situation? I know, I've always been a fan of Huff, but, listening to what, more of the film guys say about, his straight line speed and this and that, kind of started making me think, okay, well, maybe he can't do it. People that know more than me about the position, don't have as much confidence in him. But now we're hearing good things about it. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I spoke with Jordan Elliott of Niners Nation on this in my last podcast, and Huff, and I mean, the work ethic for him is there, right? And so, like, when you're not the most physically gifted guy, which Hufanga is not, you can kind of close the gap between yourself being a non-physically gifted guy and the guys who are, super athletic and, better than you, by improving like the cerebral aspect of the game, and immersing yourself in, I guess, like the football smarts and all that. So, which I think he's done. So it seems like he is starting to close that gap. And as D'Amico Ryans mentioned, like, he's communicating better. Of course, like, that's a big part of playing safety as well. And it's good to know that he has like the confidence. And obviously even Jimmy Ward has confidence in him. And yeah, I think it is interesting that, we never really heard him say that about him and Tart, which they've always played together. So that was, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, obviously Hufanga is going to have large shoes to fill, right? Because, Tart was pretty good, underrated on the defense. And, you could just hope that Hufanga is going to be able to do all of those things that Tart did well. They're different types of players. One thing that Jordan mentioned on when we were talking about him on the pod was that Hufanga has really good instincts. And so that's one thing that sets him apart. So when you have that, and like I said, if he's doing that and he's closing the gap, between the physically gifted guys, then this could be a good season for him. And I think he might be in line for a sophomore leap. So we'll see. I'm not completely worried about the safety position. One, because we're hearing good things about Hufanga. And also, I think George Odom is also a guy who they signed this offseason who could be a really good contributor based on some of the things that I've heard about him. So I think he'll compete as well. Right now, it seems like Hufanga has, his spot locked down, but, competition breeds greatness. So we'll see what unfolds there.
Before you go, TL, everybody make sure you got your numbers in there. I see most of you do, but in case anybody hasn't yet, and I'll go ahead and pick a number shortly. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you said a lot there, Steph. I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. So I agree. One, I'm not worried about the secondary as much, just because I think the pass rush is going to be that much better, and everybody knows your secondary is only as good as your pass rush. So with Hufanga, you said you're exactly right, Steph. The stuff that he doesn't have that's elite is stuff that I think that you can teach. Like, there's people who learn how to get faster with strength and conditioning and stuff like that. The intangibles are there. Like his football smarts, it's either you have it or you don't. He has good instincts. His angles are good. He can tackle. Like his only weakness really is probably why he went in the 5th round or 6th round, whatever it was, is because of his speed. Him running like that 4.67 or whatever the case may be. But who knows, with the full season of NFL training and strength and conditioning, he might be a little bit faster because like I said, that's possible to teach somebody to get faster. And then two, it's like, he has trained with Troy Polamalu, stuff like that, and you can't really take that for granted. Like, he's just a great football player. So yeah, I'm not worried at all. You made a good point, Miriah, saying about how Ward never once said that him and Tart were the best safety tandem. But to say that about somebody coming into their sophomore year is saying something. Yeah, I mean, if he's out there and he's taking the job, that's great, because I think like we talked about, we're worried about the safety position because we're just we saw how Hufanga played last year and everybody was kind of worried about him getting beat deep or whatever the case may be. But I think I don't know. I just think that we're talking about getting a net cross in the 3rd round and all this other stuff because he was fast and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think I feel okay. I feel better about the position now than I did 2 weeks ago. So. Yeah, I think Odom, you're right too. I think Odom is, probably pushing them as well, and we all know that competition makes everybody better. So I like that they have, Leon O'Neal in there, still going for it, and all these other guys. So I think everybody's hungry to win that spot. Plus, everybody knows it's wide open. So it's not one of those positions where it's like somebody's trying to compete for left tackle because you already know that's taken, or you know what I'm saying, or or you know what I'm saying. So or edge on both side, like you already know that's taken, but with strong safety, that's wide open. So I think that creates people to be more hungry to be like, hey, this spot is for the taking, and I want it. So yeah, that's how I feel about Hufanga. I don't think I'm worried about him too much.
Talking about like him working with Troy, we heard D'Amico, I think it was, come out and say this week that, Huff's been acting like a pro since the very first day he got there. And I do think that has a lot to do with, Troy getting him ready for the league. Normally they're always their first year, first year players, it don't seem like, till going into their 2nd year is when they start preparing like a pro. When they find out, watching the people in the, locker room and, seeing how those around them prepare and, doing, as they learn that how to become a pro, but they're saying that Huff came in and he was already like that from the very first day, So I think that has a lot to do with him working with Troy as well. I think that that's one of the biggest surprises for me, out of all the talk that we've heard coming out of OTAs, the last 2 weeks, was the safety position. And like you said, you feel a lot more comfortable about it, now than you did 2 weeks ago. And that's why, that's one of the biggest surprises for me, because I feel the same exact way. Good or bad, what's one of the biggest surprises, out of all the things that, you've heard, seen, whatever, coming out of this second week of OTAs?
I think for me, I've been hearing a lot about Darqueze Dennard and him playing at the nickel spot. And that's a little surprising to me, because like he wasn't really someone who I would have had as like one of the top options. And I know it's just OTAs, right? We got to take that with a grain of salt, and things could change as off season progresses. But I think it just shows that he has a potential to be a dark horse type of candidate for the nickel spot. And that, I think that's another competition that's wide open, right? And so, if he got that spot, that would be a little surprising to me. So far, I think that's the biggest surprise.
I don't know, for some reason I knew you were gonna say him, so I picked the second person. 'Cause I was gonna say him, and I'm just like, because I've been hearing the same thing about him. Like, man, like, because I was just like, him, like he's the most surprising guy. But I'm gonna go with another one. I'm gonna go Justin School. I heard that he's been playing well, which is shocking to me. Like when we were talking about, I'm serious, because he's coming off that injury and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's going into his 4th year in the system. So he knows what he's doing, and he's a vet now and stuff like that. So, when we're talking about like the offensive line and possible starters, he's never really even mentioned. It's always like Jalen Moore or Colton McKivitz or whatever. And this is only if Mike McGlinchey's not playing. But he's never mentioned. But I've heard nothing but good things about him, and that he's looked the best out there at right tackle and stuff. So if he's as good as what they're saying, that's another bonus, because then again, you're making everybody else better. The Jalen Moores, the Colton McKivitz, the Brunskills and stuff like that. I'm just shocked to hear his name. But yeah, Darqueze Dennard and Justin School are the two most surprising names I'm seeing. So
yeah. Joey guessed number 8 as soon as he entered the chat, so congrats to him. Go ahead and pull his card real quick. Let's see what we got here for you. It is a Trey Sermon rookie wave card. These are pretty nice.
Nice. Rookie wave.
It's like him riding a wave. Congrats, Joey. If you can DM me your address on Twitter, please. And once I send out all the winners, I'll send it out. That's all really the topics that I had. I know that we had a couple questions. I don't know how much time you have, Steph, but
yeah, I could keep going for
all right.
A little bit more time.
See. I know that they just want to get me riled up here, so we'll save that for later. Melissa had asked, do you think that Lynn working so closely with Juice means that he will be calling out more changes instead of the center?
Yeah, possibly. I think that's a possibility. Anthony Lynn, even though he was a head coach with the Chargers, he was always known for enhancing the run game. And I know before our other guy took some time off, he's great too. But Anthony Lynn, he had Melvin Gordon, made him play well. He had an undrafted guy in Austin Eckler, who's turned into a great running back. So, yeah, I think there's going to be some different usage, I guess, from my boy Kyle Juszczyk. And Melissa, I know you asked me because, Kyle Juszczyk's my favorite player on this team. So, yeah, I think Kyle Juszczyk, I've always said I don't think he gets used enough, in my opinion. I think the man is, when they brought him in from Baltimore, it was always they called him an OW, but I don't think he's been used that well. I think with Trey being a quarterback, now with Anthony Lynn, hopefully there's a little bit more creativity with him, because I don't really like him as a running back per se. I like him more like coming out of the backfield, catching the football and stuff like that. So I can see that happening to Melissa for sure.
Steph, what are your feelings on Juice? Are you a Juice fan? Do you think, I know a lot of people just feel maybe that we pay him too much for the usage and, that we have somebody waiting in the wings. What are your thoughts on Juice?
Well, I mean, I'll address that last part. People who think that he gets paid too much for his usage don't really know what he does probably in the first place. Like, he has such a huge involvement in the run game, not just him running the ball, like, because he doesn't do that as often, but him blocking. And he does that a lot. So, and he's mentioned this before. He has to know the most out of anyone besides the quarterback in terms of like everyone's assignments and things like that, just because of what his role is. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think with Anthony Lynn, yeah, we'll see some possible more involvement with him in the run game. But, and you touched on this, T, like, I think in the passing game, we'll see a little bit more, because that's something that Anthony Lynn really focuses on as well. He likes to get his running backs involved in the passing game, and he's able to do that pretty well. So, and that's something that Juice is already really great at. It's not something you have to like teach him, So I think that's something that we'll see a lot more this year.
Yeah. You see, Melissa said it makes you happy. That's why she asked you.
Yeah. So Steph, just to tell you, Steph, I used to be a fullback in high school, and I also played it in junior college.
That's
Fullback's like my favorite position. I don't know how old you are, but they used to call me the Black Mike Allstott. You remember him from Tampa Bay?
No,
Okay, you might be. Yeah, he played with Warwick Dunn, and so I was a fullback, and on my team would be like, give the ball to the Black Mike Allstott. He'll give us a touchdown. They used to give it to me like on the 1 2 yard line. So yeah, and Juice, I feel like the fullback position is kind of, it was kind of going away with it a little bit. But I love that I think there's only like 8 or 9 teams that use a fullback right now, so it's not many. But I love me some Kyle Juszczyk because he's so versatile and stuff. And you're right about people complaining about his salary, don't really understand everything he does for this offense. So
yeah, I do like Josh. He was on, he was on Nitty Gritty. Shout out to our friends over there, Nitty Gritty. And Wayne Breezy did an interview with him, and like I like him the person, like I really wish that maybe, I just feel like we can't just keep him on the practice squad. He's not just going to keep lasting there. So I feel like another team's going to end up swooping him up, because I feel like if we're waiting for Juice to retire or to whatever, till Juice isn't there anymore, I just feel like he's going to be gone by then. And I just really like him as a person. Like, I wish, we could carry more than one at that position, to like squeeze him on there somewhere. But yeah. And it sucks too, because even at running back, like, we're so crowded this season. So, going into the season right now. So we can't even stash him there. But I know Melissa would rather not have Juice there and would rather have Josh in there.
Yeah.
I heard, let me ask you, I heard about that 49ers, that we're just so easy to accept, anybody that they like. Okay, so this is let me just play out the whole picture. Our guy Smitty over at the Fantasy Football Show, shout out to Smitty. He was talking about the 49ers fans, like, that we're so excited to get a quarterbacks coach that's never been a quarterbacks coach before. Like, he has nothing to prove, like nothing to show us that he's been any good at what he's, in there about to do. But yet we have all this faith in him. Like, we have Anthony Lynn, a coach that, nobody else wanted, like, he got stripped of his play calling duties halfway through the season last year. And yet Niner fans are so happy to have him in there. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Shoot, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of people like overly excited about him, so I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest thing with 49er fans is that they didn't like Rich Scangarello.
Yeah.
Which, so now, there's a new face. Like, we're excited because he can't be worse. I think that's the assumption, which, I mean, that might not necessarily be true, because again, like, this guy has never been a quarterback coach before. And he, not just a quarterback coach, he hasn't coached at all before. Right. So,
right.
So yeah, it'll be a completely new thing for him. But at the same time, like, I don't think Kyle Shanahan is just gonna choose someone that he doesn't believe in could do it. Like, he appreciates guys who are on the same level of like football intelligence as him, right? So I would I would just kind of assume that, he's going to be bright and he's going to be better than Scangarello. And hopefully, I mean, we see Trey Lance improve under Grease. Is it Greasy or Grease? Like,
Brian Greasy. It's Greasy.
Greasy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I find it comical, to be honest. And I understand people didn't like Rich Scangarello, but here's the thing: just because you haven't coached doesn't mean you don't know the position.
Mhm.
He played a decade as a starting NFL quarterback, made a Pro Bowl. So let me ask you this, and I'm not okay. Let's just say Chris Borland. We all remember him, right?
Yep.
If we hired him as a linebackers coach, would we be crying about it? Oh, well, he's never coached. He played linebacker effectively, or Jeff Ulbrich, or whatever. Like somebody, I was going to say Patrick Willis or Navarro Bowman, but they're Pro Bowlers, so I'm trying to keep them out of it. I'm just talking about like linebackers who played in the NFL, who played effectively. Like, what's wrong with that? That's like, to me, it's like hiring somebody who was in the field for 10 years and then they gave them a supervisor position. Just because they haven't been a supervisor doesn't mean that they don't know the job. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why Brian Greasy gets so much flack. I don't get it. It's not like they hired somebody who did. It's not like they hired somebody like me to go in there and be the quarterback's coach, because I have no knowledge of that position. But this dude, like I said, he played the position and made a Pro Bowl. So I don't know what the outcry is for. Like, I'm sure he knows how to read defense. He can teach Trey how to read defenses. He can teach Trey delivery, timing, like that stuff he can teach. So I just don't understand why people are crying about it. So as far as the Anthony Lynn hire, yeah, just because he wasn't a good head coach, well, now he's not. He's not a head coach. He's an assistant. He can work more behind the scenes. He can help out other aspects on the field. Like somebody mentioned earlier, he can kind of be an assistant head coach behind the scene, so he can go out, so he can let Kyle breathe a little bit, so Kyle doesn't have so much on his plate, because he's not going to have to worry about the play calling on this team. He can focus on other things. So the Anthony Lynn hire, I mean, I'm not mad about it, but I'm not overly excited either. But I understand it. Like, what makes me laugh is people sit here and they complain like, oh, you give Kyle so much flack, like, but then in the same breath, it's like you need a coach. You need to, what's the word I'm trying to use? You need to trust our coaching staff. Well, if you're going to trust him, then trust him. He's the one who knows what he's doing. He's the one who's behind the scenes. He knows all these players. Like Melissa just brought up, when D'Amico Ryans was a DC, people were worried about it. Oh, he's not going to be good, or we're going to be in trouble. He was better to me than Saleh, and it was his rookie. So let's just be patient. Let's see how it pans out. I mean, I have no issues with Brian Greasy being the quarterback's coach, because you know why? He was an NFL quarterback, so I'm not going to worry about it. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, we heard D'Amico kind of touch on that, when asked about, why he didn't take the head coaching job or why he pulled out of the race, and if, they thought, like, if he thought he wasn't ready, and he pretty much said, well, and this, like what we say about Trey Lance too, like, you have to become a first-time starter or a first-time head coach or a first-time whatever it is at some point, like some point is going to be your first time doing it. So, like, how you can't say that you're not ready until, you have to be in there doing the job to get ready. And I think, like, we heard him talk highly about Trey Lance too. And like the whole time he was speaking on that, like, it reminded me about everything that everybody said about Trey Lance, in that situation as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to be real quick, so Steph, I don't know what you do for a living, but if you've been doing your job, let's say 5-6 years, and you're good at it, you're effective at it, and every time a supervisor role comes up and you apply, and every time it's, well, we want somebody else because you've never been a supervisor. Well, how do you know I can't be just as good, if not better than them, if you're not giving me my shot? Mm-hmm. I've been doing this job for 6 years, and how do you know? I mean, it's like Miriah said, like, you don't know what somebody's going to be till you give it to them. So it would be frustrating. Like, man, I've been doing this job. I'm getting these awards. They're saying I'm a great employee, but yet they won't give me my shine and give me a supervisor role. It would get irritating. So you have to give somebody a chance if they know if they already know what the job entails, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like I could see it from both sides. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's not fair for people to like immediately count him out right now because we haven't, again, like you mentioned, like we haven't even seen what he can do as a quarterback coach yet. So let's just pump the brakes and give him that shot. And on the other side, you can't just assume he's going to be this like amazing quarterback coach right away for the same reason, right? Because we just don't know. It's like the same thing with people saying, well, Trey Lance is going to be a bust. Well, Trey Lance is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. Two different sides of the spectrum, but two different things that you just can't really say that right now because we don't know. Like, so yeah, just give people their chance and then let's make judgments then.
Absolutely.
Um, I can tell that, 49ers throwbacks just shoving little things throughout the chat every so often, talking about Joey, talking about Jimmy, talking about people hating on Trey Lance. Like, he's really trying to get me to go off, but I'm going to behave because we have guests on the show, okay? Like, yeah, trying to make me. My mom taught me to have manners in front of guests,
It's funny.
Um, so let's just touch on the quarterback situation and then we'll go ahead and then we appreciate you giving us your time, but I know you have better things to do on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Let us have your thoughts on the whole Jimmy Trey situation. Do you think that we end up cutting him? Do we trade him? Do we see him in a 49ers uniform again? What are your thoughts on how the whole situation is going to play out?
I think the hope is still that they trade him. Like, I think that is the ultimate plan, that they want to trade him. It's just a matter of, okay, when he gets back to throwing, when he's completely healed from his surgery, will other teams then start to call? Will the trade talk ramp back up? Like, I think that's the number one question. I still feel like there's some hope there. Now, if there aren't any teams that are interested, do I think they just kind of wait and see, like, if a team will eventually? I don't, honestly. Like, I think it's two things. I think one, it would be crazy to just keep him around, and it'd kind of be crazy for Jimmy Garoppolo also to like just come back and play second fiddle, because he wants to be a starter as well. So I think they would do him a solid at that point and cut him. And I think honestly it would be for the betterment of the team as well, not just for the cap, but just like having Trey Lance, feel like he's like the number one guy, which I think he does already,
Yeah.
because they've given him that feeling. But you can't just, bring Jimmy Garoppolo back. And again, like, I don't think Garoppolo would come back even when he's back healthy again. Like, I don't think he would participate in any training camp or anything like that. Like, he can't risk any injury as well. So, yeah, I don't think we see him back in the building. And I think he's ultimately traded.
Yep.
Yeah. I personally think he gets released. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm hoping this happens. I think the only way he gets traded is if somebody gets hurt in like in training camp or preseason or something like that, and they just say, "Hey, we need a veteran quarterback because I feel like this is a playoff team, and I think Jimmy can get us 9, 10 wins or whatever." I just don't see people. For one, as you just said, he's injury prone. He's been injured all year. I don't think anybody's going to want to trade him and take on that $25 million salary when they don't know what they're going to get. Plus, it's a 1 year rental. Like, I mean, he's gonna go in there like, oh, let me make my $25 million. He can go up there and suck, and then they're stuck with, they're stuck giving up a third round, fourth round, whatever pick they decide to give up. Which I think right now, hopefully the 49ers will take anything. Like, even if they, if it's anything on day 3, it can be negotiated. Like, I'll trade you a fifth, but if he starts this many games, it turns into a third, something like that. Like, like make it worth the while on both sides. Like, yeah, you can have him for a 6, but it can turn into a third, whatever the case may be. But I think he gets cut. I saw the article today from, I think it's SF Nation, saying that the Panthers want no part of Jimmy and that salary, And so, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be one of the things. I said something before, Steph, which would be funny because, everybody was worried more about his thumb than they worry about his shoulder. So I'm
Mhm.
like, what if his camp are going to be jerks? And as soon as he heals from that surgery, from his shoulder, be like, oh, you know what? Now his thumb ain't right. We need to have surgery on that too. Like that would be. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying like that would be like the dirtiest thing ever. But I
because we haven't heard nothing about the thumb, right? Like
At
he
all.
hurt his shoulder because he was protecting his thumb, but then
Yeah.
all of a sudden we heard not one single word again about his
Yeah,
thumb.
and the thumb was
Right,
supposed to be
yeah.
worse because it was torn ligaments, so we haven't heard anything about it. So I guess it just healed on its own. But anyway, not to go off on a tangent, but yeah, I think he gets released. I don't think we're going to find any trade partners for him unless there's some kind of negotiation where like the Niners say, hey, he's getting paid 25 million, but I'll pay 10 of it. You take on 15, something like that. You know what I mean? That's what I think. You gonna say something?
I was just gonna say that Albert Breer on one of his MMQBs last week, he said that Jimmy's camp has been given like the green light to basically negotiate for I think the 49ers, I guess, to take part of his contract or eat some of his money just to make the trade easier, because I think that would make it a easier pill to swallow for other
For
teams,
sure.
right? Like, because I think that's one of the reasons why they wouldn't trade for him. So if that's holding it up, then I think at this point the 49ers are okay with like paying a little bit for him to just go, you know?
Yeah, like say, like, I'll take on 10, you take on 15, you give me a 6, something like that. So
Yeah.
to make it worth their while. And before I go, and you're right, Steph, I don't see him staying on this roster because to me, I'm looking at it as what are you telling your other players? Because let's just say if Debo doesn't get a contract extension, then you got Debo making $4 million this year, which is crazy, $4 million out there as a starting receiver, busting his tail while Jimmy's on the bench making 25. Like that right there is just not feasible. Like I don't think that you can. There is no way I think that you can do something like that. So I think he's gone before week 1. I think they're going to hold on to him as long as they can. They're going to hold him to training camp through preseason. I think like a week before when they have to get their 53 men together, he'll be cut. But then at the same time, it's going to be harder for him to get a starting job because now you've missed OTAs with this team. You've missed training camp. You've missed preseason. So you're not just going to go in week 1 and take somebody's job. So, yeah.
That's his agent and his camp's like problem at that point.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that he ends up getting cut because I just can't see a team, unless like you're saying we take part of the salary. Like we've heard, with the situation the Browns are in with Baker, like teams don't want him unless the Browns, take most of that salary. And obviously after paying out the money they paid this offseason, they can't afford to take on Baker's, salary for another team. But why are you going to give up a draft pick? Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, if he is cut, Seahawks pick him up right away.
I think so.
I think so too.
That's where I think he goes. I think that's where he goes either way. If we end up trading him or he gets cut, I think he's going to be a Seahawk. Because that's just the only place that really needs, like, that could use him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody keeps saying the Panthers, and I know, like, that's what our hopes were. But, like, they have so many quarterbacks already. Like, where do you want the guy to go? Like, there's no room for him there.
Yeah. So, and does he even beat out a Sam Darnold? I know Sam Darnold could be terrible as well.
He would absolutely beat out a Sam Darnold.
But at least Sam Darnold has a year in that offense and he knows the system. Like it's going to take Jimmy at least probably 6 weeks to learn that offense. So I don't know. But yeah, I think you're right. It could be Seattle who picks him up. But I honestly hope that Drew Lock is good enough to where he'll even go to that team. I don't even want him to have a job the way he's been acting against this organization. But that's just me. Steph, you're like this.
All right, Steph, I appreciate you for giving us your time, for coming on. We definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
For those that weren't here at the beginning, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, and then we'll let you enjoy your Saturday.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys can find me at Stragosaurus on Twitter, also under the same username on YouTube. I do 49 Carats podcast. I have guests almost every episode, so I record an episode like every week. Doing a giveaway soon, actually. I should mention that. Shameless plug. Gonna be doing a giveaway for a Frank Gore signed jersey. So but you got to be subscribed to my YouTube channel to be able to, enter. So, just make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/Stragosaurus, Stragosaurus. Thank you guys for having me. This has been great.
Oh, absolutely. And that's
Thank you.
that's a great Twitter handle name too. I like that.
Yeah.
It's different. I like that.
Yeah, it's
All right.
part of a nickname.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you so
Steph. Thank
much.
you.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
So yeah, make sure you guys get over there and subscribe to her. So you can get, entered into that Frank Gore jersey.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and do one more giveaway before we head on out of here. I
Yeah.
think that we had got all the questions.
Yeah, I think that was everything. I don't know if you wanted to talk about it just real quick. Did you want to talk about that situation where they've been talking about Zach Wilson not being accurate and how he's not getting all the hate that Trey Lance ain't getting?
Yeah. Jesse over at Last Second Sports, he dropped a video last night on it about the hate, that we see Trey Lance get, and yet we don't see, other second year, even first year, whatever quarterbacks, get that same hate. And he brought up, Wilson with the Jets, and that, he's pretty much looked like shit through all of OTAs, yet, it's just, it's OTAs, it's just 7-on-7, it's just no pads, yet Trey Lance is over here killing it, and he's the one getting all this hate. He put up a great video on it. Make sure you guys go over there and check that out. What were your thoughts when you listened to that? Because he hit it spot on, I thought.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jesse. That's was one of the guys I look to the most as far as his content. Like he's very knowledgeable, but you know what I'm starting to think, and I'm going to put the race aside because I'm not really thinking that's what it is. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think no matter who took over for this team was going to get this kind of hate. I really do, because I'm looking at it as I feel like so much of the media and so much of this fan base is so enamored with Jimmy's winning percentage and stuff like that. And everybody always says, "Oh, before we got him, we were poverty." So many people got this. I feel like Jimmy has a stronghold on a lot of these fans, where people just think like, "Oh, he wins, and he's a great leader. Why would you want to get rid of him?" Within the organization, fan base, and outside the organization. So I think if, let's just say we drafted a Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, I think it would have been the same thing, because if they would have said all year, then we would went to the NFC Championship and they would have been saying the same thing. So I just think that we get the hate most because of how good we are. Because I think you and I have said this before, and I think Collie has mentioned it, to me before too. I just think that whoever the 49ers quarterback is, because we have such a high standard at quarterback, that whoever is taking over is going to have so much heat on them, because we've had the Joe Montanas, Steve Youngs, and stuff like that. So I truly believe, and I could be wrong, but I just truly believe that no matter who it was going to be quarterback, we're going to get the heat. And like I said, you look at this team, 3 out of the last 4 years, we've been to 2 NFC championships. So people are looking at it as like, you guys are crazy. Why would you go away with a quarterback who took you there? And so I think that's why it's like, well, he didn't take us anywhere. We can have that argument all day. But people always have this persona of, well, Jimmy took you to a Super Bowl. He took you to 2 NFC championships. No, he didn't. So I think that's where the Trey Lance hate comes from. I also do think it's a little bit of racism as well. But I think mainly it's just because he's taken over and where we've been. I think if we were to miss the playoffs all 4 years, I don't think it'd be a problem. I think the 2 NFC championship games and the Super Bowl appearance, it hinders people's minds and don't want to look at the full picture and just think, well, that team is good with Jimmy, instead of thinking about it as, no, the team is good and we win despite of him. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, like during the draft, all we heard was, make sure you guys put your numbers. Come on, or else there's only going to be 3 of you entered. And heading into the draft, all we heard, after we traded up, that, oh, well, the quarterback going to San Francisco is in the best position. And, which we know, obviously, a team drafting that high for a quarterback's usually a losing team, nothing built yet. And obviously, we were the opposite of that. So it's like they were hyping it up before it happened. But then once we drafted Trey, then it's been like negative ever since. All of a sudden, all that hyping up that you did before, when it was just a mystery guy, before there was a name on the quarterback, they were hyping him up, but once that name got put to that quarterback and found out Trey was coming here, it seems like there's been a ton of hate. Like, And it's
Yeah.
sad, it's sad. And like, I'm glad, hopefully, what we heard from Trey saying that, respectfully, he don't give a shit what, them people think. Um, Hopefully that's true and that, he sticks to that. But sometimes the noise can get loud, especially when you're only 22 years old.
Exactly. And I'm going to go to Colley's point real quick. And you're right, Colley. Trey isn't replacing Joe or Steve. But, like, you have sense, Colley. Everybody on this chat understands our team as a whole. But there's just people who are just, I feel like there's fans and then there's diehards. I feel like all of us on here are diehards. We look at the ins and out of our team. We criticize our team, whether good or bad. You know, we think outside the box. But you got these people who just look at it as in 2017 how we were terrible, and then Jimmy going on that 5-0 run, 5-0 run to end the season has clouded people's judgment. Where they're just like, "Oh, look, he's good. The team was trash. He comes, we won 5 straight games, and then this isn't that." So I think people don't look outside the box, Collie. So that's why I said we look at us as a standard. Joe Montana, Steve Young. You can even throw Jeff Garcia in there because he took us to playoff appearances. Then you look at Jimmy. There's other than Steve and Joe, other than Steve and Joe, there's not many other quarterbacks besides Kaepernick who has taken us to either a Super Bowl or NFC Championship game. So people think about that and they think of, well, Jimmy took us here. No, he didn't, because we know that. But I feel like 75% of the fan base don't get that. All they see is the winning percentage, his record, our NFC Championship appearances. So they think like it's stupid to get rid of him, but they don't understand. And that's why I think Trey Lance gets so much hate. That's why, what's the number 6? I think that's why with Trey Lance, it's, well, he better take us to an NFC Championship his second year, otherwise it's a failure. And because people just don't get it, man. So that's where my frustration comes in at.
Yeah, I think all these numbers were high.
I see a 24 in there.
Okay.
I see anything lower. I don't want to be wrong. Let me go up because I was wrong last time. I think 24 is the closest.
All right, 49ers throwback.
Yep.
I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else.
That's rare that we got 2 low numbers.
I know. 6 and 8. That was crazy. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I'm not that guy who always wants to bring up racism and stuff like that. But I do feel it is a part of it with a lot of these fans. I really do think a lot of it. People think like a black man can't lead. So, but at the same time, I just think whoever it was Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, whatever the case may be, I truly believe that we would have, whoever the quarterback is going to be is going to get a lot of hate because we just came off an NFC Championship game. So the expectations are high and people are going to expect that again this year. So if we don't get to the NFC Championship, expect more hate because it's going to be, see, if we would have kept Jimmy, at least we would have been here, or whatever the case may be. So I'm just glad that Trey has a great head on his shoulder and Trey can just block out all the outside noise. So
it's a numbered Raheem Mostert Unsung Heroes from 2019. Number 93 out of 100. So message me your address, throwback. I appreciate you guys, as always. Let me write his name on here, so I have to keep myself organized here.
Yeah. And what's so funny too. I look at everything, and everybody says I was wrong for this, but I don't think I am, because they're saying that Grant Cohn and Emmanuel Ocho were different. But when you start putting players in a category, like if Emmanuel Ocho came out and said, "I don't think Trey Lance is going to be good. I haven't seen enough," I'm fine with that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but when people dog Trey Lance, there's no substance behind it. It's always, well, he didn't play against good competition, and he didn't play in 2020. Like, okay, what else are you seeing that makes him think he's going to be a buzz? Well, I just think him playing against small schools is like, come on, like that argument is trash to me. You got to tell me what you see on the field from him that shows he's not good. So when Emmanuel Ocho came out and said what he said, and then when he said, I have players in the locker room who are telling me he ain't it, to me, that was an opportunity for the players to come out and shut Emmanuel Ocho down. Because if I'm in the locker room, and let's just say that Colley's our quarterback, right? If Colley's our quarterback, and you and I are in the locker room, if somebody in the national media, it's not even local media, this is national media, so everybody heard what he said. Not just 49er fans, like with like a Matt Mayoka or something like that, where it's usually local. Everybody heard what he said. So to me, that's going to piss me off more as a player than somebody saying it locally, because it is what it is.
Right.
Like if I'm a player and now you're putting me in the category saying players in the locker room, so now you're speaking for people in this locker room. I'm coming out as a player because that's just me. I'm coming out and I'm embarrassing Emmanuel Acho. I'm saying he's lying. Nobody in this locker room has said anything about Trey ain't it. So show me the proof that you're saying that players are saying that. Like I'm embarrassing that dude and putting him on blast. But I haven't heard not one player do that, and that bugs me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have heard them, obviously talk up Trey this week, and last week, but we haven't heard them come out and specifically, address that. Kind of like, obviously it's, to a different magnitude, but we saw the team, stick up for and go for Kinlaw, like calling out, Grant and what that whole situation. But, like you're saying, we have no players, addressing anything that ever gets said about Trey.
Yeah. And that bugs me. And like I said, because now, like I said, anybody can have their own opinion. I'll never knock anybody for having an opinion, but have some substance behind it. Like everybody's, well, it's just my opinion. Well, your opinion is trash because he's right. I heard Rich Eisen did have his back.
Yeah, I heard that.
But
too.
yeah, but everybody can have their opinion. Like if anybody came out, I don't care who it is, anybody came out and said, well, I can't really give my opinion on Trey Lance, I haven't seen enough. That's fine.
Yeah.
But to already talk about he's a bust and he can't read defenses, like, for you to say that without no substance behind it, your argument is irrelevant. And I don't want to hear what you have to say because you're not bringing any facts behind what you're saying. It's an opinion, yes, but you're still just saying like, well, he didn't play against nobody. Well, neither did Darius Leonard. Neither did, they can name a bunch of players in the NFL who are Pro Bowlers who didn't play against a lot of talent, but they're still there. You know what I mean? So Josh Allen played at Wyoming, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? He didn't play against nobody, but it doesn't matter. Like if you're good, you're good. So yeah, I just wish that, like it's old now. It's over a week, whatever. But yeah, like Emmanuel Acho, if I'm like Fred Warner or Trent Williams, because her name holds weight, I'm embarrassing that dude. There is no way nobody in this locker room said that Trey, and the way he said it, that Trey ain't it. Like, come on, bro. Like
that's why they call him One Play Trey.
Yeah, that's why they call him One Play Trey.
Like I never heard that in my life.
Ever.
Not one single time.
Ever.
And he made it like that. That's what people are calling him on the daily out there. Like,
yeah, One Play Trey. Like, come on now. Like I said, Kittle, the Debo Samuels, I'd be out there. I mean, like I said, maybe I'm just different, but I'm embarrassing this dude and putting him on blast and calling him out to let people know like what he's saying about what this locker room is saying about our starting quarterback is not true.
Yeah. I mean, and especially when it's your quarterback, the leader of the team. Like, I don't know. I'm going to do a random, I'm going to scroll through the comments in the live over here, and whoever's comment I land on, that's who's going to get a free pick of the cards.
Perfect. Hey, Troy, that's funny you say that, brother, because I was raised in Fresno, California, and where he grew up in Fireballs, like 30 minutes east of Fresno. Melissa won. And he's a god in Fresno, too. Everybody loves Josh Allen in my hometown, so.
Next card, let's pick a card for Melissa. Congratulations. Let's see. I'm not going to do that to you. I don't know why Jimmy Garoppolo's card in there, but I'm not going to let somebody win that. Let's give you another pick. So you got the new quarterback instead of the old quarterback. Trey Lance, incoming class card.
Nice.
Rookie card. Yep. Numbered. There's 29 of them made, so it's one of 29. Congrats, Melissa. I think I have your address. But if not, you can send it to me just in case. All right. Yeah. I can't hear you. Did I knock my volume out?
No, I think it's me. I appreciate everybody in the comments. I appreciate that. Hey, Ray, that's a good comment that you put about the national media and the split fan base.
Where is that?
There it is.
Okay. I think the trade out is due to analysis playing to a split fan base. Yeah. I believe they wouldn't say anything if the faithful was entirely behind Trey.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And the team hasn't even, announced that Trey's the starting quarterback of the team, so what's the team, what are they supposed to come out and say?
Yeah.
I think once they know for sure, maybe once Jimmy's out of there and it's known, like I'm sure they know behind the scenes, but once it's known and Jimmy's out of there, I'm sure things will hopefully change, because we've seen things change already a lot.
That's true. I don't know if you know Miriah, and I don't know if anybody in the chat knows, but looking at Trey Lance and how he's been playing in these, mini camps or whatever. I mean, there's been reports that he was like 15 of 20, and he was like 18 of 21. Like, he's not throwing a lot of interceptions. So has Brian Greasy worked with him before all this, or is he just working with him now? Because that says a lot if he has.
Well, I mean, up until now, the coaches aren't even they're not supposed to have any contact and be working with them.
Oh, okay.
That's why they have to go to outside, quarterback gurus and throwing specialists and stuff, because up until this point, they're not allowed to. They can talk to them and stuff, but they can't meet with them and work with them on game stuff.
Got you. Okay. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you mentioned it. Maybe I just wasn't listening or something, but shout out to all of our draft picks being signed.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
I mentioned that quickly because that's something, like we had talked about, on here and behind the scenes as well, that we were worried that, our team hadn't even signed one draft pick, and yet these guys were out there working already, in the first week. But, then I seen that one day none of them were out on the field. I want maybe the start of the second week, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
None of the rookies were out there. So I was like, shit, I wonder if now they're holding out and not going to play. And then it was announced shortly after that they signed. So yeah, that's good news.
Grant Cohn video of Trey throwing motion. Yeah, we saw that. It looks good. It looks a little bit higher now. Like, I don't see the elongated throwing motion from behind his body anymore. I'm seeing it. He's keeping it high and tight. Like, he's keeping his arm, like, it doesn't really go past his shoulder, and he's zipping that ball out. I see a good spiral. So yeah, I just think, everybody was kind of dogging him last year, saying he throws ducks and stuff like that, like hard ducks, because he throws the ball hard but just wobbly. But I think it was because of that index finger. That shows a lot. But his balls look, well, his passes, let me say that instead. His passes look great, and I love the way, I think he's working on getting the ball out quicker. That's why I think he changed his throwing motion. So yeah, and his improved footwork as well. Yeah.
I know that he was saying that there still is a little wobble on his balls, and that he had talked to some, I don't know, throwing guy or somebody, and that his hand, that the way Trey's, I don't know, it's the way Trey's hand is coming off of the ball, like when the ball releases out of his hand. Yeah. Something like that, it's supposed to come off one finger a certain way, and Trey's isn't doing that, and that's what's causing the ball not to spiral like it should. So they did talk about as well that maybe they didn't want to throw so much shit on Trey at once, and the wobble is something that they can deal with and fix over time, can fix next off season, maybe. Like, that's not that big of a hindrance to his play as in his release time or his some other things that they needed to focus on more this off season. Like, you can't make the kid freaking do 6,000 things during the off season, come on.
Yeah, his throwing motion does look a little bit better though. I see it. Like I said, I see the passes coming out a little bit quicker. He doesn't have, like I said, you remember how he used to kind of throw like that? He used to bring it kind of back, and you know what I mean, and throw it. But now I don't see that. I'm seeing it. Him like he's getting the ball, and he's like coming like here, maybe like right by his ear, and then he's throwing it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But I think he's only doing that for like the intermediate passes. Like, obviously he has to bring the ball back a little bit further when he's throwing it deep to like Gray and Ayuk or whoever it is. But yeah, I think but they said it too, because how Kyle's offense is all about timing and precision and stuff. That's why like we thrive, because he likes to throw the ball in between the hashes over the middle and stuff like that. So I think that's what Trey was working on, because I don't think we're worried about more of like the deep balls, because we know he has that down. So
yeah. Melissa says, who do you want at nickel?
Who's ever the best corner. I don't care about names. I mean, to me, I think if let's just say if Jason Verrett is 90% of what he was, I think he gets out of the starting position. I think Ward and Verrett will probably start. I think Emmanuel Mosley will get the job at the nickel. That means that Ambry Thomas and Womack and all of them will be fighting for the other spots. But I don't know. Ambry Thomas to me, I mean, I know that Emmanuel Mosley's been great. Ambry Thomas to me ultimately has more talent than Emmanuel Mosley. But Emmanuel Mosley, he's been there, he's done that, he's in his last year, so he's hungry too. He wants to get that payday. He's still pretty young. He's only like 27, so he's trying to get that payday. So he goes out, he balls, he has a great year. It sucks to say, but he probably will not be back next year because we drafted Tariq Castro-Fields, Samuel Womack. We still got Delmar Lenore, who's the guy nobody talks about. Nobody really brings him up. We still got the guy who's never leaving, and Dante Johnson. He's never going anywhere.
Don't worry, he'll be retiring a 49er.
He would definitely will. So I don't know, Melissa. I just want the best guys out there. I can care less about names, but I know that Charvarius Ward was paid to be the number one for sure. But I think the second corner spot, the nickel, the dime, all that stuff is up for grabs because honestly think. So here's my prediction. I think a corner and a linebacker is traded in preseason because we have so many. Because people are going to pluck our roster as soon as the final 53-man cuts are made. So with Greenlaw, Aziz, I mean, we brought in two more guys undrafted, and we know the track record of D'Amico Ryans. We still got Flanagan Foles, so I wouldn't be surprised if we trade one and get a draft pick and also trade a corner because we're so deep now, and that's a good problem to have. So
I heard on the linebackers that obviously Fred and Greenlaw and Aziz, they weren't participating. So it was, all the new guys out there. And I heard that that's a very strong group that's out there. And that, I've heard from multiple people that they wouldn't be surprised if we were to see Greenlaw get traded.
Yep. Either him or Aziz. It's going to be one or the other. Somebody's gone. Like, I mean, they brought that guy from San Diego State that runs like a 4.38 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they said he's like in the mold of like Aziz, because Aziz was kind of undersized. He came in like at 220. He's put on some muscle over the few years, but he's kept his speed. Yeah. So if we can get that guy from San Diego State, we got Jeremiah Gemmel from North Carolina, who was predicted to be a 5th-round pick. He went undrafted. Then we got Leon O'Neal, who's kind of a hybrid. So it's going to be interesting, man. Somebody's probably going to get traded. And you're right, Swan Song. It could be somebody like the Jets. Saleh, he might be calling and say, hey, give me Greenlaw. I'll give you a 4th. Cool. That means we got better than what we did because he was a 5th-round pick. Or if we trade Aziz, because I think he's getting paid more with that 2nd-round tender. He's getting paid more 2nd-round tender. So if they call and say, hey, you give me a 2nd round for Aziz, you can have him. So I think that's why Greenlaw might be traded before, because he might not cost as much. But if somebody calls and offers me a 2nd for Aziz, I love Aziz. He's probably my 2nd favorite linebacker, but he's gone. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I'm getting a 2nd for him, especially because he was undrafted. Yep. We haven't talked about wide receivers this much this year. We will.
I did want to touch too. I heard, some comments about Ambry that compared to last year's OTAs, night and day difference. I heard that, last year's OTAs, he was swimming like a fish out of water. Like, he couldn't keep up, like he was looking bad. But they're saying, this year he looks great. He looks better than what he did at the end of last season, and he was playing great for us. So yeah, I wouldn't count Ambry out. I think he's definitely, and we've seen that, it's not like, corners that we've had in the past, I won't mention any names, that they don't have confidence and, they can't keep up out there. Like, he has the confidence. So as long as he keeps having that confidence in himself that he can go in there and fight for one of those starting jobs, I think he can be scary out there.
I'll say it because I think you're talking about Ahkello Witherspoon. Know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ahkello Witherspoon. But yeah, Melissa, I don't think Drake Greenlaw I don't know who's going to be traded. I just said I think a linebacker will, but I think me and Miriah just brought up Drake Greenlaw because he has a lot of value. He's not getting paid as much, but we know what he can do. And somebody like Asala, or even somebody in like maybe the Dolphins or somebody, but like because of Mike McDaniel, he might be like, hey, I know what he can do. Let me bring him to my team. Who knows? You know what I mean? I just use those two because now that Kyle's coaching staff has kind of ventured off to their own thing with Zach Taylor and with the Bengals, and you got Sala, you got there's a bunch of guys out there now who got their own coaching jobs who can take one of our linebackers. I mean, we saw last year Jonas Griffith get traded. We saw Jonas Griffith get traded for a 6th-round pick, and he wasn't even drafted because he was doing so well. So, yeah, you're right. So on 2023, Greenlaw and Azeez are both free agents. We can't pay them both.
And I said Greenlaw because I was talking about what I heard, and I specifically heard the name Greenlaw thrown out there several times from different people. So that's why I said Greenlaw.
Yeah. So I think the way it's a what you did for me lately league. So I think Azeez has more value right now because the way he played last year, and then Drake Greenlaw couldn't stay healthy with that groin. So people are going to be looking at it as like, well, maybe I can get Drake Greenlaw for like a 5th-round or 6th-round pick, whatever the case may be. And then if we can get a pick for him, even if it's equal value, I think you take it and you pay Azeez and you hope for one of these guys like a Flanagan Falls, because he plays well whenever he comes in.
Yeah.
Flanagan Falls, and like you said, like I think we brought in like 3 or 4 linebackers, unrestricted free agents, and they all look amazing. So something's going to have to give.
Yeah. 49ers throwbacks talking about the wide receivers. Yeah. This wide receiver room, there's going to be a lot of people good wide receivers that probably, would make the teams on other teams that we're going to have to be kicking off our team because we're just too deep.
Yeah.
Like, I'm big on Tay Martin, but I'm scared he probably is not going to make the team because
he'll probably be a practice squatter.
Yeah, and does he last on the practice squad? I doubt it.
Yeah, it just depends. Remember, what did we read that you can protect 4 a week?
Yeah.
So hopefully he shines so much that they keep him, all season to groom him so he can be that guy. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So who was it? 49er throwback. So me and Miriah, I keep wanting to call you Melissa. I don't know why. I guess because I keep seeing her chat. But I think me and Miriah already have something scheduled where we're going to do like a breakdown of all the positions. Like we're going to do offensive line, D line, wide receiver room, all that stuff, and break it down and who we think are going to make the team, what the depth chart's going to look like, and so forth. So stay tuned for that.
Yep. I heard that Ray's having great OTAs as well.
Yes.
And I heard that Ayuk not so much, but then again, we have to think, the guys that we already know are penciled in as starters, like they're not out there, playing through OTAs,
Yeah.
Like we have so much competition that those are the guys out on the field right now, the guys that have to be competing for spots. So
yeah, like you said, the Tay Martins, the Rays, the Danny Grays, they're probably getting majority of the snaps.
Yeah.
It's going to be different when OTAs come in, you know what I mean? And we start having all that stuff because then when it's like mandatory, then it's going to change. But yeah, I'm glad that these guys are getting it in now. These young guys, the Tay Martins, like you said, the Danny Grays and all that stuff. It's going to be interesting. Ray McLeod. So I heard he's doing excellent too. So, I mean, I think, who knows? Like, I had hopes of Danny Gray competing for maybe the 3rd position, but I don't think that's going to happen because I heard that Juwan Jennings is another one who's looking great.
Yeah.
I heard he's looking amazing. I heard he's slimmed down. He's, he's physical already, and he's a blocker, and that's what Kyle loves.
Yeah.
So he blocks. He's looking good. He's going into his 3rd year with the system. He's in shape. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so Danny Gray could possibly just be like a decoy as a rookie. Could be that guy who brings it on 3rd and long to stretch the field to open everything up, and then Ray McLeod would be the 4th receiver. So, and like I said, if Danny Gray is your 5th wide receiver, you're doing something right.
Yeah. I heard that Dwelly is somebody that's getting a lot of work as well because obviously, Kittle's not out there. Yeah. And I've been on that train that I think Dwelly could possibly get moved. So
possibly, yeah.
Maybe they're having him out there to showcase him.
Yeah.
For a team that's now going into OTAs and seeing that their tight end room isn't as strong as maybe they hoped. But yeah,
we signed that one too, didn't we? Didn't we sign that one? Yeah, we have him. We still got Charlie Warner. So yeah, you could be right.
Because we can't keep them all. So, why not?
Yeah,
Don't
and if a
we
team,
don't ever
yeah,
see Dwelly get used. Like he's another person that doesn't get used like we
yeah.
think that he should be. So it's like send him to a team that can use him.
You know what's funny about Dwelly too? When he's in the game, he makes plays.
Yeah.
It's not like he comes in, he don't do anything. Like he scores touchdowns and
And
like
they always
he's
talk about he has the best hands on the team, so why aren't we throwing the ball to him? It's like,
yeah. So I think hopefully Warner or this new guy. I can't remember the guy's name that we brought in a free agent. Do you remember his name?
no.
But whoever he is, hopefully he's more of like a blocking guy because I want to use Kittle more as a receiver this year.
Yeah.
I want Kittle to be you because then it'll expand his career. He won't be getting hurt as much. Like if we have Kittle not blocking as much and maybe using Charlie Warner as something like that as a blocker because I heard he's a great blocker too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want Kittle to be used as a receiver. So yeah, if there's a team who already has a blocking tight end and they want to get a tight end like a Dwelly who can catch passes and stuff. That's great because like you said, Miriah, they say
Tyler Croft.
Tyler Croft. There you go.
And they have him second on the depth chart. Dwelly third.
And he's an excellent blocker, and he can catch too, though. So yeah, you might be onto something, Melissa and Miriah. He might. You look at Ross Dwelly. He might be somebody also. Like if we can leave this preseason and we trade because everybody's looking good. Our secondary is looking good. Our linebackers are looking good. Our if we have all these and our tight ends looking good, if we can go into preseason, whatever, and we're trading to these players like a Dwelly or Greenlaw, whoever, and we're getting draft picks for them, well, that's a win because that means everybody else is excelling. So you're getting a team that's excelling, and then you're getting younger. NorCal Bill, I think we usually keep 6 wide receivers. Debo, Ayuk, Jennings, Gray, Ray, and I think the 6th one is up for grabs.
Yeah.
Whoever comes out there and whoever wants it more. So
yeah, that's going to be the question mark right there. Who shows enough to make that extra spot, and who will they try to stash on the freaking practice squad?
Yeah. Somebody said Ray a better version of Trent Taylor. Yeah, I see Ray as like a Taylor Gabriel player like how Kyle had in Atlanta. Somebody who comes in and he stretches the field, plays some kickoff, punt return, or stuff like that. That's how I see how he's going to be. So, yeah, if we can find a good blocking tight end, I mean, I think Kittle, he's one of the best for sure. But if you can find somebody remotely close who just comes out there and just nasty, who can block and all this stuff, and Kittle is used as like a Travis Kelce or like a Darren Waller, it's going to be nasty. Yeah. I'm tired of using arguably our second best receiving weapon as a blocker, as a whole lineman. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. And that, we know like young quarterbacks love to lean on their tight ends, especially when you have one of the best in the game. So it'd be nice to actually have them out there and available to be that, option for Trey.
I think that's why so many people never really want to put him as the number 1 tight end because he's used so much as a blocker. And you look at Travis Kelce's stats and Mark Andrews' stats and Waller, sometimes it blows them out the water as far as touchdown wise and stuff. It's like, well, dang, because they're being actually used as tight ends who go out and receive instead of being on that line as a 6th lineman. So,
yes, Swan, we talked about center close to the beginning of the show.
Tay Martin is Miriah's guy. That's who she really wants to make the team.
Yeah. That's because I'm going to release merch when he does.
Signed Gronk.
Signed Gronk. I think that's too why Dwelly doesn't get used that much because he's not great at blocking. So Kyle won't put up with this shit.
Which is funny to me because coming out 2 years ago, he was known as the best blocking tight end in the draft. But I just don't know if he hasn't put it all together yet or he's not strong enough yet. Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah.
Big play, Tay. I like that.
Yeah.
He's the one. What college is he from? He's not the one from Tennessee, is he?
No. I think Oklahoma, was it?
I think Oklahoma State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it. I appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Swan Song. I totally agree. I'm never going to argue that point. Never.
Yes, thank you guys. Thanks again to Steph for joining us. Make sure you guys go over there and subscribe to her, give her some love. The show should start being on all the podcast platforms starting this week sometime. So you guys, for those that can't catch us on YouTube and would prefer to listen to the audio version and not have to look at our faces, you can now do that as well. Yeah. I don't know when we'll be on next, but sooner or later we'll be here.
Yep.
Someday.
Thanks for joining, fam. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Yep. Everybody have a great, safe weekend. We'll see you sometime this week.